Three, two, one. What's going on, folks? Welcome to 34 Questions. I'm your host, 34. Tonight we have Rosso Rosso in the building. How you fellas doing tonight?
We are good. It's actually Rosso Rosso.
Oh my
but
God.
Thank you, 34.
Wow.
You're feeling enlightened
that's
tonight.
great. Say it one more time,
Maybe a
man.
bit of Rousseau.
Rosso Rosso. Like just
Rosso.
hard O's the whole time. Rosso Rosso. That's my bad. I think I heard you say Russo Russo. I thought you were joking around. That's my bad. I got you moving forward. Rosso Rosso, like Italian, red. Yes, we're a band. Thank you, 34. We're happy to be here.
Rosso Rosso is in the building. Hey, that was a great outtake. I'm sure my listeners would have a great laugh at that. But please, I know there's two of you guys, so if you can, just names, so the folks out there know talking to two different.
Oh yeah, I'm Michael, Michael Palmieri.
I'm Connor Newton.
Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Mike, for stopping by. For the folks out there who are unfamiliar with the flow of the show, and for you guys too, if you are unfamiliar. Basically, start off with a little bit of a warm-up. After the warm-up, the icebreaker. After that, we'll get into the main meat of the podcast. We'll turn to the wheel of fate, spin the wheel, whichever number it lands on. How the conversation will flow. And then after all that, we'll sign off. Some closeout questions. Sound good to you guys?
Sounds great.
Connor? I hear good.
Sounds terrific.
All right, thank you, Connor. All right, guys. Well, before we do all that, I really just want to ask, how have you guys been? You guys been doing well? You guys been great? How you been? Feel free to flow however you.
Yeah, we've been great. We've been keeping real busy. We just had a phenomenal show at the Sultan Room earlier this month. We are working on a big YouTube release for the summer, and we are testing out some new drummers as well. So there's a lot happening in Rosso Rosso. Oh, we also just got a practice space, so we're very excited to use that and get on a more consistent practice schedule. But yeah, it's been good. It's been really exciting, really busy. Like we were talking about earlier. I mean, it's every day. You gotta keep pushing for it. So it keeps you humble, I think. But we're great. We're good. Yeah.
I got you. How about you, Connor? From your perspective, how have you been?
I've been good. Yeah, the band's been great. Really excited. We've got a bunch of new songs we're workshopping, which is always my favorite part of this whole process, is just bringing new creative elements into the mix and into the fold. Yeah, it's good. I mean, have you seen the weather for next weekend? It's hard to be upset when spring is in the air.
Oh, for sure.
Rosso Rosso is a spring band. We thrive when it gets hot out.
That's what and then that's something good to know. You know, you got to be aware of like where your energy lies and kind of meet your there. But I hear you. I do love spring. Fortunately, where I'm from right now, still having a lot of rainy weather, which is to be expected. I'm just more of a summer guy myself. I can't wait to get there. But thank you. I'm glad to hear you guys are doing well. I kind of want to ask, I'm just curious, I mentioned to Michael earlier before we started recording honors, my first dream was to be a rapper. It was really hard to stay consistent, one, but I didn't really have, I guess, guidance to really know about how much forward do I think about having a rollout, my track list intention, by having things to supplement it when I roll it. So for you guys, how far ahead do you think of, like, said you have things coming up? How far coming up? Months, is it here? Yeah, where you guys at with that?
Yeah, it's a daily. I wouldn't say we're very organized, but we do have stuff on the calendar for like all the way into August. So it's something that you do want to be thinking of, and like we found that it's really helpful to kind of set like explicit goals, because it's easy to say, hey, I want to be successful, and then how do you define success? Like you might play a great show, be like, is that success? Like, have I hit it? Like, am I done? So, earlier this year we made a list of a couple of like venues we really wanted to play, like a number of monthly listeners that we wanted to attain, and we were workshopping, maybe like, pitching to a label or something to that extent. So it's all, there's always stuff on the calendar. It's very unorganized though. That's all I'll say. It's like things are constantly moving around.
Mike's being humble. He's the organized one in the band for sure. If he wasn't here, it would blow up into a bunch of smithereens. I'd hazard to say I'm probably disorganized by contrast, but he
Thank
keeps
you,
us
Connor.
going. And we are.
I'm blushing over here. I know the camera's on you right now, but
Not for
Keep
sure.
the camera on Mike. He's the organized one. Look at his hair.
Well, if Mike's the organized one, how would you define your role, Connor? If Mike's organized, you are the what in
Supplemental chaos. Yeah, I think it's hard to define your own role in a group, right?
True. Yeah.
I think
Connor is the
nuisance,
creative force.
town drunk.
Keeps us the town drunk keeps us humble, keeps us honest for sure. Yeah, if I have unabashed pride, then Connor will come in and be like, remember, because we've known each other like 14 years, so we really are like two sides of the same coin at this point.
14 too many.
I gotcha. It's important to keep those people around you. I don't know if you guys have heard about the sunscreen speech. It came out in '98. It was like one of those graduation speeches, right? And one of the pieces of advice that was in that speech was, you want to keep the people close to you when you were young, because they'll remember who you are before it happened, right? So for you guys to have each other, it's a special thing, and I think you guys recognize it. But yeah, just know it's important to keep those relationships. Appreciate hearing how you guys are doing. Let's go ahead and jump into the warm-up. My first question for you guys in the warm-up is, what would you like the audience to know? Typically, you just meet somebody for the first time. What's something like, this is who I am? What would you like to say to them?
That's a tough one. Connor, do you want to go first?
Sure, I can take a little stab at that. I mean, I think to speak for myself, but I have an inkling that it's probably speaking for both of us a little bit, is that I'm driven by a constant need to be creating and expressing, and have a lot that's just sort of bouncing around up here that's mostly drivel and horrible and useless, but if it doesn't get out in some medium or another, I'm going to go completely insane. So whether that's songwriting or writing fiction or performing, I think, is a kind of creative expression that's separate from actually writing the song. I think getting all of that energy and interfacing with the world in that way is vital to who I am. And I think Mike as well, probably. I think he'd agree with that.
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely the creative. That's why we're in a band, obviously, but it's a huge part of who we are. And I think, yeah, I would piggyback off that and say something to the extent of, if I had only one thing people would know about me, it's just like, change is so important. Like I hate the idea of stagnation or staying the same, or to me that's death. Like rigidity, like that's death. Like if you can't bend, you're gonna break. And so I think that Connor and I, we focus on the music, but there's always other creative pursuits that we're doing. Connor wrote a full-on novel recently. It's like, how many chapters at this point? It's like 400 pages.
It's like too many. Yeah.
Well, I haven't finished it yet. I'll be the judge if it's too many or not. But I've drawn with charcoal before. I take photos occasionally. Like obviously we write lyrics, we write music. I don't know. I guess change is huge. Creativity is huge. Don't be stagnant.
I gotcha. Quick follow up to that is, as creators, when did you realize in life that this had to be? I'm always curious when I hear about like, I can't draw, I can't imagine, can't do things that I feel like everybody can. But maybe some are more drawn to creativity. So for you guys, growing up, was there a specific thing or event or age where like, damn, I'm creative and I want to, or bunch of times. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean definitely. You said it best yourself. People, I think, are afraid to put themselves out there or be seen as not good at something the first time they try it. Um, because when you see somebody when you see your favorite singer or whatever, they're really good, obviously. So if you sing and you're like struggling, your voice is cracking, then it can be a bit disheartening. But that, I think, is probably the crux of being a creative, is just like pushing through that, because we suck at so much of what we do, but Connor and I think, are neurotic, so we feel compelled to stick with it. I mean, I started playing music as young as third grade, maybe second grade. My mom made me take piano lessons as like a young kid. And eventually I was like, guitar is way cooler though. Can I maybe get a guitar? And I don't know, Connor, when did you start?
Oh, early. I mean, there was always singing in my house growing up. Had a fairly musical family. My mom's got too many siblings. She's one of 12, and they all sing. So family parties were just sort of like show tunes and standards. And early on, I realized that I wanted to do that, to create those as well. I have a notebook still, or my parents have it somewhere, of like my first songs from when I was 8 or 9 that I wrote down in this little notebook. And the one they always make fun of me for is a song I wrote when I was like 8 years old called Sex Man. So,
You
rock
remember a
and
bar?
roll was in the DNA early on, I guess.
You remember a bar from that song, or you have to kind of?
Oh man, it would cause some damage if I brought that one back.
We should cover that, man. I don't think I've even heard that one. Bring that back to a show.
Hey man, say you wrote this at 8 years old. I think the crowd will dig it. They'll be like, get really into the story, the backstory, or just refresh it for 2024. Take some
put a drill beat on it or something.
There's nothing wrong with the editing process, man. You can clean up some of those less polished lines if you want.
I was not quite a child prodigy.
I don't know if you guys are into making skits, but I think Sex Man, that's a goal.
Hey, what are you working on, Connor? Looks up his shoulder. Oh god.
Yeah. But thank you guys. My next question for you in the warm-up is, how would you like to be if there was a way I could express the energy you possess, what sort of act could I do? Let me know if you need more clarification.
I say, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Everybody feels fear, but courage is feeling the fear and doing it anyways. So anytime you see the fear and you do it anyways, that's for me, man. That's how I would like to be honored. Is if you were met with fear and you think, I'm actually gonna do it anyways. Like, I know I'm afraid right now, but I'm gonna do it. That's me, 100%.
Gotcha, man. Sure. How about you?
Yeah, this is a good question, and I think I'm trying to figure out exactly how to interpret it. But I think the thing I feel most strongly makes us human is our ability to tell stories and to use language. That's, to me, what it means to be human. So if you want to honor, if after I die you want to honor my memory in some way, tell stories, listen to people's stories, keep that sort of an art form alive. I feel like it's under great threat these days, with a lot of what we're seeing in the advancement of generative AI and people's unwillingness to engage with things that require a bit of attention span. So tell stories, listen, breathe, let images haunt you.
Yeah, got you. Now we know, Connor. I appreciate you. But yeah, I try to steer away from like the interpretation of death, and I don't like to bring it up, right? So anytime I try to tell folks, imagine if you moved far away, friends and family back home. But yeah, no, I got you. I just want to let you know that's what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking about the worst thing that could happen.
Well, have you, 34, has anybody ever turned the question back around on you on these? I know you do those interviews, these questions.
Dude,
the warm-ups are the same every time, but the wheel, has anybody turned it back around on you? How would you like to be honored?
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate you asking. And the first few times people have asked me, I didn't have a great answer. But I did think about it, and I think I finally came down to something, which is I want people to continue this podcast. I would hope that, the idea for me, the big idea, is that I'll have people who do 34 questions, and they'll do it in their own, because I'm very limited to English. But I think these conversations should be had everywhere. Hopefully, maybe technology gets to a point where I can talk and I can hear while they translates real time. But if I happen to move away and I'm unable to do this podcast anymore, I just hope someone's like, "Yo, I want to keep doing that," or I want to keep the project moving forward. So yeah, if anyone's out there listening, please, if you are multilingual and you do a podcast similar to this, I'm here as a resource. But yeah, that's what I would like to become, or I would like people to do. Thank you.
If it doesn't exist yet, I feel like there's got to be something on the way that could translate in semi-real time.
Dude,
we got to be close to that.
I keep up with that kind of technology, or like, I'm into tech, but specifically that one. Yeah, there is an earpiece that allows you to do that, sort of, but it's not there yet where it can like wide consumption. It's only very special people have that kind of thing. But yeah, one day, man, it'd be great to just travel and have talk to every single person. That would be my dream, if possible. But thank you for asking. And
I wish you well on that. That sounds like a heck of an endeavor.
Thank you, Connor. Yeah, it'll take a while, but I'm happy to be able to do it over Zoom or over Google Meets for now. Talking to folks like you who just give me the time to hear your story. And my last question for you guys and warm up is, scale from 1 to 10, how well do you know yourself?
Oh, this is fun. We've talked about this before, right, Connor?
I think we yelled at each other about this before. I'm pretty sure.
Individually, if you were to ask us by ourselves, I think both of us would say 0. But because we've known each other so long, I feel like I'm aware of Connor at like a 10, and he's aware of me probably at like a 10. Like, he knows what I'm going to do before I do it, and chances are know how he's going to react in any given situation. So together, I would call Rosso Rosso is a 10. But if you were to ask each of us individually, I think for sure my answer would be 0. I'm blissfully unaware.
I got you.
It's a kind of nice, actually. Yeah.
I wish I could be there. Do you agree, Connor? Would you agree with the sentiment?
I think insofar as that I'm in denial about a lot of my worst habits, and especially with regards to obfuscating things, I tend to deflect when I am challenged to more seriously reflect sometimes, which is something I'm working on. But I'm on the lower half. I might not be quite so mean to myself. I might give myself like a 1 or a 2, but it's low. And if I do know myself, I'm in denial about it.
No worries, man. I think even at the low numbers, right? Maybe you just feel like you have so much more life to live, and more lessons to learn. I think we're all kind of in that boat. I know for me, it's really if I am in a good place in my life, I probably know myself more. If I'm in a bad place in my life, then myself at all. It really just flows like that throughout my whole existence so far. In a self-reflective follow-up, Connor, what is your favorite thing about yourself, as far as like personality-wise?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't like sorry, this is a great question because it disarms me. I don't like it because I feel like I'm being obnoxious in some ways. I think I like my sense of humor. I make myself laugh a lot, and if you can't make yourself laugh, I don't think you can make anyone else laugh. Yeah, I think I do genuinely like myself, my sense of humor and willingness to laugh at myself.
I gotcha. I do love comedies, and I love to laugh. So can you give me what's like the last, I guess, I don't know if you watch TV or movies, but what's the last one that you just felt like hilarious? I need to tell people.
Oh, That's a good question. I've been rewatching a lot of films and movies and things like that lately. I rewatched a movie called Walk Hard. Which,
Dude,
have you seen that 34?
Dewey Cox, man, or is it Dewey?
It's the Dewey Cox story. But I rewatched that, and with this wave of crappy dime a dozen musical biopics that have come out recently, it just like it. None of them needed to be made. They were all made already. Dewey Cox made them already.
I got you. You know, the funny thing about that movie is that I've actually never seen it myself, so I need to go watch it. But I've seen the clips, you know, especially the one.
You have to see. Oh, 34. You have to see that movie.
Yeah, dude.
It's so fun. John C. Reilly.
Love him, man.
Kills it. Kills it.
I don't know if it's a good movie, but it's also a great movie.
I got you.
It's happy to do its own thing.
I understand.
You also get Jack White playing Elvis and just being completely incomprehensible. It's a fun time.
I didn't know Jack White played Elvis in that movie, so that's another reason for me to check it out.
It's maybe
Jack
the
Black?
definitive cinematic Elvis portrayal.
Isn't Jack Black one of the Beatles? Am I making
Jack
that
Black is Paul McCartney, I'm pretty sure.
That is hilarious.
Paul Rudd is John Lennon.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
How about you, from Mike? What's your favorite thing about your personality?
Yeah. No, I probably it's a blessing and a curse, but I can see the big picture a lot. I really, this is a new thing for me, but I really appreciate getting out of the details, because I think for most of my life I was just incredibly detail oriented and like looking down at the smaller stuff, just the smallest possible way, and that would be how I kind of made sense of everything. But recently I've just had no choice but to just open it up and like look up instead of down, and it's been the I think the most positive change in my life.
I hear you,
Big
man.
picture. Yeah.
Does it ever like sometimes feel weird? I know for me, I try to keep myself in the same kind of perspective of, you know, everything much bigger than myself. But I'll be honest, I would feel out of place when I feel like I do it too much, or like I push everything so far ahead of me that I feel like, okay, I'm not even part of this anymore. I don't know if you ever had that feeling, but
Well, I can understand the feeling. It's weird. I think when I was a kid, I spoke to my dad, and he would say something like, I don't like looking up at the stars because it makes me feel too small, or something like that. But I feel the opposite. I feel like part of a continuum. It's like almost beautiful how small of a piece I am in I don't know why. You know what it is also is that I always loved, Connor and I think both kind of identify as pretty nerdy people, but I've always really liked like bugs, like ants and bees and crap. Like I just find them endlessly fascinating, the amount of hierarchy they have and seemingly like social structures. And we as a species largely reduce them to just like, they just operate on instinct. There's nothing going on down there. It's like ones and zeros. But they actually have like really complex social structures and just crazy, most complex hives. And anyways, I think that I can kind of relate to that a bit. Even if I zoom way out and like look at all the planets and like look at me as this tiny dot, I'm like, yeah, but like that means maybe there's other dots that are alive that we just haven't like seen yet. I don't know. I find that like very, very inspiring.
I hear you, man. And you know, one of my hopes, I do believe in the grander universe, and there's things out there that we just haven't come across. And I hope maybe they watching 34 Questions too, and then be like, oh, that's what human beings are like. No,
Hell yeah.
Fingers crossed. But I got you.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think we are ready to move on to the icebreaker. Throw that up here.
Right on.
So you see you have 34 seconds on the clock. I will offer this choice to you guys. Who would like to do the word association, and who would like to do the this or that? There's two parts. And I'll
What do you
run
think,
the clock.
Connor?
This or that, or word associate.
I'll do word association.
All right, cool. I was gonna say this or that. Awesome. Yeah.
Great.
Perfect.
Maybe we should do the opposite then.
Ooh.
Yeah, a little off. What we didn't want to do. Yeah.
I don't know. How you guys feeling about
I'll leave
that?
I'll leave that to 34. We've said what we would like to do. Now, if you want to throw us on our heads, get us disarmed.
Yeah, I think I would like to do that, guys. I won't lie. Let's flip it. Let's flip it. In that case, Mike, let me start off with you with the word association. Get to
All right.
this or that. Here we go.
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah, it's the first word or thought that comes. It's not like you have to speed run it, but we're trying to hit as many as we can. And I'll follow up 1 or 2.
I'm gonna go blank slate. I'm ready. Yeah.
All right, 3, 2, 1. People,
Animals,
nature,
trees,
spirituality,
pantheism,
missing,
person,
art,
sculpture,
believe,
yourself,
destiny,
gravestone,
appreciate the last one.
appreciate, family.
Right.
Pantheism.
Yeah. Let's go there. Let's go there.
That's the only, I don't know. That one, that's like all living things are like one consciousness. That's the only one I kind of like, I guess.
That's what it means.
Yeah, it's like everything that's alive is like a splintered form of the same consciousness. Like if a person is the whole, then like I'm like one cell, or like you're like a hair follicle or like a liver cell. I don't know.
God is the universe.
Yes. Yeah.
I am heavy on that, dog. As far as like,
yes, dude.
As far as, growing up, I grew up Catholic, but I've been lucky enough to have parents that kind of are, more open-minded, right? Like they leave a lot of religion interpretation to myself and personal things, which I'm very fortunate. Not a lot of families are like that. In doing so, though, I definitely came to the conclusion that the universe and God are the same thing. And I tell myself that all the time. And, come at me. I know some people will. But for me, it does bring me peace and gives me it makes me feel like I'm understanding things in the right way. And maybe that's me being a little obnoxious. But for me, it does make sense. I think it guides me in a way where it's like, I want to reach out to people, talk to them, hear their stories, because we all part of this experience that's happening. The thing. So I'm with you there, man. There. When did you come to that kind of, I want to say conclusion, but that thought process? Was it introduced to you? Was that idea, or like, did you do your own research and came across it?
Somebody told me the name of it, like after I had already kind of figured out that I was departing the Catholic upbringing I had. Like you, I was raised Christian or Catholic. I'm not even sure which one, to be honest.
You went to Catholic school. We met at Catholic school. You're a Catholic.
Yeah, definitely.
I thought we went to Jesuit school. I don't know what there are so many names.
Catholic monks.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Is Christian that different though? Isn't Christian just the
all Catholics
Jesus?
are Christians? Not all Christians are Catholics.
Oh, the old square rectangle guy.
Yeah,
all right.
All like our
Yeah, I don't know. A friend of mine introduced me to the concept of it, but I was just drunkenly rambling to him about how I thought we were all like very much part of the same thing, and like obviously drugs played a role in the earlier stages of me figuring that out. But honestly, towards the later part of me remembering like how I like actually came to those kinds of conclusions, it was totally sober. I think I was walking home from class one day in college, and I was just like particularly depressed, and something about the smell of spring brought me out of it completely. It was like the most deja vu thing. The smell of spring is something that almost never changes, even though I was in a place that was not where I grew up. I was transported back to like childhood memories of like just the smell of, I guess, pollen in the air. And it was just very much like I said earlier, kind of this continuum thing that felt very, very comforting. I think that a lot of people will put this big respect on the past that made them and have no respect for themselves. Like, don't touch anything. Like, you're here now and it's all set up great. Don't change anything. It's all done. It's like, no, dude, like, it's part of it. Like, I mean, yeah, the past was great. It made me, I guess. But like, it's not done. It's just, you know, the next step up. I guess that's kind of as much as and I could be if I'm wrong, by the way, if pantheism is the wrong word for it, I apologize. I'm conflating two things, but I think that is what it was, how it was introduced.
I think you're right.
Is
There's
it really?
there's also I actually learned this recently. There's a word for like that first rain after it hasn't rained for a while that washes up all the smells of the summer and spring. It's called petrichor.
That's awesome.
A fun new word today.
Petrichor.
I love that. Oh my god, new Rosso song.
Ooh.
That's a great song title.
You use this sound bite as like the intro, right? Like you guys are just talking about.
Yes.
Auto-tune this conversation and set it to a bossa nova track.
Right on, Connor.
That's awesome.
For jumping in, Mike. I hear you, man. I hear you, and I feel. All right, Connor, man. I think we're ready for a this or that. Let me reset the clock for you.
All right.
Go. This or that. Once again, it's not like a speed run type thing, but follow up with one or two. We go. In 3, 2, 1. Vacation or staycation?
Vacation.
Winning the lottery or landing your dream job?
Dream job.
Underestimated or overestimated?
Overestimated.
Sort by price or sort by rating?
Rating.
Hang out with little kids or hang out with old folks?
Old folks.
Group hangout or one-on-one hang?
One-on-one.
Growth or security?
Growth.
Leader or follower?
Follower.
Be embarrassed or be afraid?
Be embarrassed.
Gotcha. All right, man. The first one I want to follow. You said hang out with old folks instead of little kids. Why did that come to you?
Yeah, I actually don't know. I think it might just be I've been spending a lot of time with my grandmothers lately, who are, you know, getting older and both, you know, near, I think, the end of their lives. So that's probably a part of it, is more so just what I've been doing recently. I love little kids. I think they're balls of wisdom. They're hilarious and often accidentally really brilliant. But just lately I've really enjoyed recording some of my grandmother's old stories about New York in the 1930s and just what that was like. So have really appreciated that kind of a lost world that I don't think we're going to see again. All these people that populate her stories, who knows if after she's told these stories, if they'll ever be told again. So trying to cherish that a little bit.
I hear you, man. Yeah, I think a big reason why this podcast came about, because I don't know my grandparents. They all kind of passed away, or I was too far from them to really get to know them. They moved on. And yeah, I commend what you're doing with your grandma. I wish, you know, I had the opportunity to do that with mine. Any wisdom kind of stuck to you that she drops every once in a while, or maybe she told you, like, only one thing you remember from saying could be it. I don't know if you've had that conversation.
Having had that conversation, I think the wisdom is that even as a lot of her other faculties have gone, she's still this one of, I have two living grandmothers. One of them is still the funniest person I've ever met, and just wants to like make a snappy one-liner anytime she gets the chance. She just wants to make people laugh. So I don't know if it's advice necessarily, but just to be able to keep that demeanor until you're 98 is pretty incredible.
Dang, 98, almost there. That's
yeah, she's. I know.
That's
she's
pretty
right.
Do you think she would ever, like, one of the things I think about is, you know, if I never make it as a podcaster at the age I'm at, maybe if I am in my 70s still interviewing people will be like, hey, you guys heard about that 70-year-old guy who's still interviewing people? And
I want to
for
hear from you though. Hear
oh
your
yeah.
stories at that point.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. I think the, I get really uncomfortable doing that. To be honest with you, because a lot of the times I don't think and kind of exposing my fear, but a lot of the times I don't think my stories are that valuable. I know I shouldn't say that, but it is the truth. How I feel a lot of the time. Um, but
Bull,
yeah,
man, bull.
but
I think everyone feels that way to a certain extent.
yeah,
It's more fun to write about other people and to tell other people's stories or consume media that's not about yourself. It's hard to write about yourself. It's hard to talk about yourself, but
it is.
All the more reason to do it, man.
right, exactly. That doesn't mean it's not worthwhile. And there's also beauty in small things too. So sometimes even if it doesn't feel worth like grandiose, it can still be amazing and insightful.
Why do you guys think that is? As far as people just having a hard time talking about themselves or like sharing about themselves. Like, it's easy for me to do it this kind of platform because I think I always feel like I should set the tone. I want you guys to feel comfortable. I should try to put myself out there a little bit. But in my daily lives, I think that's not something I tend to do. So I don't know if you guys have any perspective on like why is it so hard for us to just talk about it? Like in a positive light, even harder. But yeah, if there's any thoughts, if there's any thoughts.
No, yeah, no, there. I kind of thought Connor was going to go for it, but I don't know why it's hard. Every I know everybody feels it, and it to me the most frustrating part is like clearly people are social beings. Like clearly, this is one of the most well documented things about us. We've always been a safety in numbers kind of a group. We've always relied on herd mentality and herd, just immunity, just kind of like to keep us strong. And so the idea of social anxiety to me has always perplexed me to no end. Why would something that clearly we need and we want, solitary confinement is a punishment? Why? Like it's a psychologically damaging punishment. Clearly we want and need social interaction. Why would that give us fear? Why would that give us anxiety? Why would that give us any reason to hesitate? And I'm worryingly starting to wonder if maybe it has something to do with the media we consume. I know we're a band and we are actively trying to make our own media and content and crap, but I just wonder if that honestly is the reason why anxiety is happening. I don't know. I have no reason to say that. I didn't read any study or anything. I'm just I worry that that's kind of what it is. Consumption, it feels so one-sided. Like when you're looking at your phone, you're not actually sharing anything about yourself. You're just watching somebody else.
Damn. Any thoughts, Connor?
I mean, I agree intuitively. I'm also not a sociologist or anything like that. But very much agree that it's probably a large cause of our. I mean, I think some of it also is that socializing requires a kind of investment. As you're here, I'm here. Let's meet here somewhere, not physically, but also like when you're like sharing something with somebody else, you are sort of yourselves are intertwining a little bit, and I think like. We know ourselves less because we fracture ourselves into so many little discrete parts, right? There's the part that goes to work, there's the part that you're projecting onto Instagram, there's the part that's funny and witty in 140 characters on Twitter. And when you compartmentalize and divide yourself, it becomes harder to be fully in the moment at any given point. I also just to go back to what you were saying earlier, like which I think wraps in with this kind of socializing ourselves. One of the reasons I think it's so hard to put yourself out there in a really honest way is because to tell stories about yourself is necessarily to view yourself through the lens of another, and to like try to inhabit that others, capital O others, shoes for a while and look back, and that's terrifying when you have to do that. And I think like certain social media platforms allow us to do that in a way that is completely sterilized and safe, in that we're not putting our self that is in danger out there. We're putting this sort of separate, discrete body armored, Kevlar self that we've developed specifically for Instagram or Twitter that cannot be hurt no matter what mean comments a 14-year-old leaves on your tweet.
Yeah. No, I got
And they've
you.
left a lot on my tweets, my God.
I hear you. I'm gonna age myself a little bit. I was definitely the 13-year-old in old AOL chat rooms and message boards, and but even back then, like, I think I was a person who always wanted to share whatever I was creating, and I was never good at telling people like, hey, look at this thing that I'm working on. It was more like, oh, here, I'll put it on the table and then walk away, and then hopefully some people are checking it out. Yeah, I don't know. That just came to mind. Sorry, I ranted for no reason, but yeah.
I feel that so hard. I would love to just make music and record it and just leave it out there, and hopefully somebody would discover it on their own, and it would, people would listen by, because of word of mouth.
Yeah.
You can't do that so much anymore.
Well, but at the end of the day, who cares if they don't hear it, if they don't like it, if they don't? That's what we are. I think that's what it's coming down to. And when we talk about like fear of sharing yourself, it's just a fear of rejection, right? Like it's a fear that you share yourself, and the person says ew or what, like you're weird. Like, I mean, we all have had that childhood experience where we did share a piece of ourselves and we're either shunned for it or shamed or made to feel guilty, and that is like so incredibly something that has to be overcome to like truly, because you always feel better when you feel comfortable, or when you're around people you're comfortable to share yourself with. Like this interview alone, 34 has been like better than the vast majority of interviews we've done, because there is this, you have such an open,
you've created a space for it where it, I feel I wouldn't volunteer these things about myself to old friends most of the time, and here I am.
I appreciate that.
It's huge. It really is. You have a way of your personality that is like very inviting. So that's not to be, overlooked.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean
to. No, not at all.
Vibe of it.
It's I don't hear it a lot. I do appreciate when I do hear nice things about this platform, and what it makes people feel, because I do want people to feel that. I was talking to one of my other coworkers, and he was like, he's tired of code switching. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but he's like, look, I've been doing it my whole life. I feel like I'm at a point where he has his masters and stuff, and I get that. So he's like, when I walk in a room, I just want to be myself, and nobody can tell me otherwise, because I've earned it, all the work I've done. And that's great. I'm not in that boat, and I keep thinking to myself, am I code switching, or is the person that I'm trying to be, or the person that I am, just seems to fit in all different kind of situations. That's what I like to think. I think I'm still the person I am on or off this podcast. Anytime I apply for a job, I tell them, hey, check out the podcast if you really want to get to know what kind of person you're bringing into the company. But I guess I also fear that people listen or people see this, and I wonder if he's like that in real life. And maybe one day I can get to a point where people are just like, nah, that's just 34. That's how he is. Which I do get that from my parents. I think I get that from my friends, like family. That's where I feel most comfortable, right? It's the people who are like, oh, that's just how he is. I think that's what we're looking for from everybody. It's like, we want everyone to just be like, oh, that's just how they are, and really accept that and be okay with that. But I got you.
It's refreshing, man.
I know. All right, guys. I think we made it to the part where we turn the Wheel of Fate. We give the wheel a spin, and since Mike, you're on the camera first. Let's get you going. Give it in the spin. Whichever number it lands on.
I thought like I was spinning it. Yeah.
Oh,
all right,
cool. I wish I haven't figured that part out yet, where I could have my.
I could just go like this.
I'll try that. What's it called? Your number is 18. I don't know if you could see it, but please believe me, I know it's small.
I see it. Yeah.
I'm gonna throw the question out there, and if there's anything that is too deep, too personal, you don't want to talk about, feel free to pass. But this first question for you, Mike, is what have you been waiting
What have I been waiting for? Damn. What have I been waiting for? I just signed a new lease on an apartment. That's not.
Congratulations, dude.
Nah,
That's big.
I've been waiting for that for a little bit. Yeah, that was good. That was exciting to get the paperwork done. I got to get movers and stuff. I guess I'm waiting to actually move. I don't know if you can tell. There's a bunch of like screw holes and stuff in my current spot. That's not a super deep answer, but
no, that's fine. That's fine, man.
Yeah.
Where are you moving? Or I guess, like, what makes you excited about this?
Oh, it's my first time living on my own. I finally found a I'm 20. I'm about to be 28, and I've always had either roommates or live with my family or in a dorm or something like that. And I've always wanted to live alone in New York. It's been a dream. I love New York. Little bit of an urban elitist. I don't really like the suburbs that much. No offense to anybody who's there, but I just like the cities.
No,
so I've
offense. We mean offense.
No. The suburbs are great, but not for me. For me, it's the cities, man, all day. And so to be able to live here on my own has been something I've been working for a while.
What are you most excited about living alone? Because I know what you mean. I have never done it myself either, so I know my answer. What's your answer?
Some personal space, some control over the cleanliness of the apartment, and just having a sanctuary. In New York, I feel like it's very, very, very tempting to want your home to be like, or I guess outside of New York, it's tempting to want your place where you reside to be this like sanctuary where you've got everything you could possibly need. But in New York, because it's a walking city, I don't feel that way. I just need like a space that is my own where I can sleep and be totally a gremlin or whatever. And so I can live with a studio that's got like no, extra rooms, like a tiny stove. I love to cook. So, I mean, like, that'll be really much appreciated. I don't know. I guess that, I'm just excited to kind of have my own space.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Connor, would you like to take this question, or you want to should I give it another spin for you?
You can give it another spin. Get some diversity.
Gotcha.
I don't have a good answer for this question, so
no worries. Any answers are good. But you got number 22.
That's 22.
I don't know if you are a spiritual person, but 22 is, what do you pray for?
Ooh. What do I pray for? That's a good question. I think this is probably not a particularly great answer, but I think often I pray for conviction. I pray so that I might believe that those prayers come from a genuine place. I think too often I can tend to get into a rut where I deflect a lot. I mentioned this earlier, where I deflect a lot of things with sarcasm or humor, or by muddying the waters and not letting people too close. Or if I give somebody a song I've written, or a novel or something, I'll say it's gonna suck, don't worry too much about it, don't read it if you don't want to. And I think it's very easy to operate in a constant state of I don't want to say fear, but like self-denial, like not allowing yourself to be proud or convinced that what you've done is worthwhile, that your perspective is a worthwhile one to offer. So I would pray for more conviction and perhaps a bit of bravery to operate with conviction, and to be proud of things I've accomplished and created.
I got you, man. You know what? I have to look up the dictionary definition of conviction, because I feel like I have an idea what it means. Not really sure.
Yeah, I think here I just mean like being convinced in yourself.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. The first one is the legal definition, with the second one.
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm not praying for myself to be. I guess it's whose conviction we're praying for.
The second one, a firmly held belief or opinion. But no, I get that, man. you know, if we're talking about how we see ourselves, definitely I should pray for that more, I guess. I was in the situation where my boss like telling somebody else like, oh, you know, 34 is in charge of this committee, right? And I was all like, hold on, in charge is like way too strong of a and then she's like, nah, like that's what he's doing. And I'm all like, I kept trying to downplay it, like, no, I'm not the leader, or no, I'm not taking it's everyone's working together, you know. It's weird. It's weird for me to feel like other people are looking at it as like, oh no, you're doing it, man. And I'm like, not doing it. So yeah, I need to pay for conviction. A quick follow up for you, Connor, is have you had a prayer ever answered? That maybe you were like, had asked the heavens, the universe, something to happen, got it, or a sign you were.
Oh. I mean, it's been a long time since I've actually probably said a real prayer, a real prayer. I certainly had a real prayer.
I got you.
But I mean, I think I've had things I've hoped for come to be in ways that seemed hard to fathom at the time. I'm forgetful. I lose little things a lot, and sometimes they just show up in the strangest places when I don't need them anymore. And I don't know if it's necessarily that my prayer has been answered, but I sometimes think that whoever heard the prayers may be playing a somewhat cruel joke on me, when after I've forgotten it and replaced it with something else, I find it, behind the toilet or something. So
that's how it happens a lot of the time, man, for sure.
Yeah. And maybe there's a kind of prayer being answered in that. Maybe the answer there is that it wasn't something I really needed to begin with. So
for sure,
not these superficial things.
I got you, man. To be honest with you guys, we're pushing up against the clock right now, but I think we got time for a couple more spins. If you guys aren't in so much of a hurry, I know it's late where you guys are, but you feel like you got some time to spare a little bit.
I'm chilling. I will say that I got like a notification on my end that the call was gonna end soon, but I'm good to go as long as we can.
For sure.
I don't know if it like kicks us out or anything. But
I'm gonna read that real quick. I see it too. I just haven't read it, but
just 6 minutes on my end. So.
Oh man.
Oh, all right.
I think maybe it's because we got two folks in here. So I apologize, guys. I think we gotta head over to the next one. But if you guys have been enjoying it, feel free to come by again for a part 2. Get through these questions.
Oh, we'd love to. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This has been a highlight.
Right on. All right, well, 6 minutes. Let's see what we can do. This next part right here is what's it called? I want you guys to kind of just clear your mind. I'm going to show you the galaxy right now. So this next part is called the 34th mantra. There's 3 phrases I would like you guys to fill, which is I am, I can, I will. So I am blank, I can blank, I will. Take a second to think about it. I'll make the universe disappear. Guys.
I am brave. I can I can get through it, and I will do my best.
Gotcha. How about you, Connor?
I am. This is the one I struggled the most with. I am struggling. I can get myself organized, and I will file my taxes on time.
I got
It's coming up soon, and I keep putting it off.
I recently just learned how to do my own taxes through like the .gov website. They'll send you a resource. Try it, man. I waited so long to do it, but if it's not too complicated and you don't have too many forms, I think you can make it work and be like, hell yeah, I could do this. I look forward to doing my taxes every year now. I'm like, oh, February, let's go.
Yeah, with all of my offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, it's a nightmare to try to do it myself. I need my crack team on it. No, I should probably use that too.
Whenever you're ready. It took me I turned 32 to start doing it. So if you need a couple more years, feel free to take those years. But yeah, another sound bite for you guys to use, maybe in a song eventually. I am, I can, I will. I think there's something that I want to use in a song at some point whenever I can record myself do it. But I got y'all. All right, well, we made it to the closeout portion of the podcast. And it looks like we have 3 minutes. All right, so shout out to Brian. Brian's question for you guys is, what is the best book you've read lately? Go either one.
I'll go with the one I'm reading right now because I'm really enjoying it. I'm reading Richard II, the Shakespeare play, and it's one I had never put all that much thought into. The history plays always seemed kind of like a boring exercise because I know how they go, but the language is beautiful, and just the way in which it's making me consider how power operates even in our current world is really exciting. So 450-year-old play can still be pretty groovy, which is cool.
What's up, man? I'll look into it. How about you, Mike?
The last book I read was Greta Thunberg's. I actually kind of forget the name. I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher it. It was it's on my desk. It was like, hang on a sec. It was really good. She wrote like a very good, and she got a lot of like scientists to basically. She barely did any of the writing. Like she just got a bunch of different people to basically talk through like what's going on and make it super understandable and digestible. The book, I'm just Googling the name right now. It's just called The Climate Book. Of course it is. My bad. No worries. I was like, I know it's like a really simple name. I can't read it right now. It's highly recommend. Highly recommend.
I'm kind of curious to see what happens when this room kicks us out, and if we could just start another room right after. So let's see if that happens. And if it does,
I think we probably can.
Yeah, I don't see why that would happen. But if it does happen to kick us out, just know I will shoot you guys another link. I think it's counting down on my end. But anyways,
it's looking pretty close.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
All right.
We made it work. Yeah, I don't know why I felt so much pressure. Like, oh man, we got.
I wanted to get it done in time too, but like we were just so into the conversation. I was like, we can double up on this.
Here, give me 1 second. I'll wait for Connor.
Sure. Go right ahead. Yeah, I'm gonna send him the link anyways.
Man, Google is so stupid. They just like mildly inconvenienced us for like a minute.
Hang on, Jan's on a phone call, but okay. I agree with you. Google sucks. What's their company called? Their holding company called? Alphabet?
Alphabet. I think just Alphabet.
Alphabet Soup would be better.
Yeah, we should name our band Alphabet, or a spin-off project, and just only record songs that go, Google sucks or some iteration.
I mean, that would be right up our alley. Pretty anti-capitalist
Yeah.
agenda.
What's up, guys?
We were just saying how stupid Google is. It just like mildly inconvenienced us.
I know. I mean, I don't pay for their premium stuff, so I guess I get it.
You shouldn't. They're dumb.
No worries. What's it called? I'm sorry, guys. I'm pressing time right now. I gotta grab my partner. But last 2 questions, which is, what would you guys like to ask next guest? 34.
Oh, good one, Connor. I feel like this is like right up your alley.
I always like to ask people what their favorite memory is. Like one memory from childhood, or even just like what's the one?
Or what your first memory was. That's always a fun one.
First memory is cool too. What was your first memory?
I feel like mine was stolen from a camera, because like I've seen a picture of me and like as a young kid, and I'm like, that's my first memory, and it's weird because I'm looking at me in the memory, so I don't think it's really my first memory, but that's my first like conscious thought, is me like cutting some Play-Doh on this table.
I wonder
like
if that'll
2 years old.
become more and more common, just with how much time kids spend on screens from a young age.
Dude, yeah, that could be happening. I know. I wonder if kids would be like, or we tell kids like, well, you was on the iPad for like 8 hours a day, and they're like, what? No way. As they're looking at their phone at the same time.
Dude, that screen time tracker is the most depressing function they ever rolled out. This is like, why are they telling
27 hours on it yesterday? I don't know how that's
exposing me like this? Oh, it's
Stop
terrible.
judging me.
You get 3 screens, 9 hours each. That's, you can break the amount of hours there are in the day.
Dude,
34. Do you remember your first memory?
Oh,
or
man.
What is your first memory? I guess obviously you remember. It's just the earliest one.
I would say my earliest memory, I want to say, honestly, it's like play fighting. At like 5, 6 years old, something. With my cousins, of like playing Volcano, or like The Floor is Lava, before it was called The Floor is Lava. Oh, they just jump on a bunch of chairs and couches and try to avoid touching the ground. Yeah, I feel
everybody.
like
How did everybody play that game?
Yeah.
That's one of the coolest like collective consciousness arguments that we could come up with. Like every kid just instinctively knows this game.
Yeah, man.
That's evidence, baby.
They came
It's
out.
maybe it's Mandela effect, and nobody played this game.
That would be hilarious. It was like, oh, you remember that game? Oh, okay, what are you talking about? Like, or they called it something else, and Floor is Lava is not the accepted name for it. You guys see the game show that was The Floor is Lava? There's a bunch of adults trying to avoid touching the ground. It was wild.
Was the floor actually lava?
No. I wish. Different stakes.
Yeah.
Late stage capitalism. We're headed that way. It'll be a game show soon. Wipeout 6.0. The floor is actually lava.
That would be wild. How about you, Mike? What would you like to ask the next guest? 34 questions.
I guess I would just ask them, why do you feel like you're alive now, as opposed to like, I don't know, 60 years in the past, 60 years in the future? Like, why does it feel like now is when you should be alive? Like, what problem, I guess, like, keeps you up at night? Like, what does it feel like you're put here to do?
Damn. Got you. Interesting. Curious to see what this person says. And
I used to ask people that in college when I couldn't think of any. I was like, why are you here? Like, why are you here now? Like, don't bullshit me. Like, and usually you get you get good answers from people, because everybody's got something they hate about the world. And it's like, I'm like, yeah, go fix that. That's absolutely.
That's dope, man. I wish someone had asked me that while I was in college. I did ask different questions, but I always felt like I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, or people weren't really vibing, deep conversation, beer pong. But I was that person. But if you're gonna ask me, and I would love to talk more about this time as well. But I think that a piece of me kind of lends myself to the theory that we are in this time frame because our, and that like, you know, when they talk about life,
100%.
they talk about life and reincarnation. I'm not saying that it can't happen and I move on to being an ant after this, but I don't know. I feel like if I don't get things right with my life right now, I'm just gonna be born back in 1990 again, same place, just on this similar track of life, and you know, I'm presented with the same kind of choice. Am I making the right choice or the wrong choice? I know that kind of changes like the whole path itself, but I don't know, being part of this era, being in California, I guess, and Bay Area, you know, I feel like where we live, where we grow up, really does shape a lot of, you know, our thoughts. But since we are in the age of the internet, it feels like we're more connected now more than ever with everybody else in the world. Kind of curious to see how that all shapes up. But yeah, if you're gonna ask me like, what's the thing that keeps me win, or you know, just makes me feel like that's what I'm working towards. Aside from this podcast, you know, and this is more about like leaving something for the future, because I feel like people in my past had that opportunity to do that for me. Very selfish. The other thing, I don't know, this is my selfless plug. I have a project called Hella Hungry that I've been reforming a little bit, but basically what I want to do with it is have, I don't know if it happened where you guys lived, but I know for me, middle school, we have these guys come in and be like, hey, you guys want to go to amusement park? We'll give you free tickets if you can sell this much chocolate. Go around and like, oh, I'm selling chocolate, and then, you know, have to raise money, fundraise from. Anyways, that never felt right for me. So I want Hella Hungry to be this thing where students, I work in a high school, particularly high school students, will rock the gear, and then as they're living on throughout life, people will be like, yo, where'd you get that 34? And I'll be like, oh, you could use my code and get it on the website. Anytime a kid uses, or any customer uses the code of that student, I would save that revenue for that student until they graduated high school. I could be like, yo, just because you were living your life and able to tell people about this product, here's whatever starter funds that you might have raised that you could start your own business, or you college, use it for whatever. But I want to help them, or try to make capitalism work for everybody. And I know that kind of sounds like communism, but in a different way. I'm still utilizing capitalism, but in a way that everybody gets fed. So yeah, I think that's
You're talking to a communist band, my man. Don't even trip.
I got
That's
you.
fine.
Red,
I like
red,
that.
red,
Red. That's the secret. That's the secret behind the name.
Word. Oh, snap.
Few people have figured it out. But I love that, man. Pay it forward. I love everything about that.
It's beautiful.
Right on, guys. Yeah, and we made it to the last question of the podcast. 100, 200, 300 years from now, what would you like your descendants to hear, or what would you like to tell them?
Man. 100, 200, 300. I mean, the world will be it'll be unrecognizable. But I think that if we are still here, God willing, then I would hope that they had figured out already that people need to live with nature and not, you know, try to consume all of it. So I assume they would already have learned that. Having said that, I would hope that they don't go the route of, it seems like we're going very heavily into like work from home, don't leave your apartment, technology, your food can be brought to your door, like you can get all kinds of psychosexual stimulation on the internet, just never leave, just like go right here. I would hope that I could coach them away from that. I think that I've always like very much used nature as a reprieve from just like the stress of life, and I need to, as much as I love the city, I do need to get out of it every once in a while and just like be around trees and touch grass, as a lot of people on the internet would say these days. I think that's really important.
Gotcha. How about you, Connor?
I mean, not to be too much of a broken record, because I think I agree with a lot of that. What I would say is probably I hope we have given you and left behind an earth you can still all use. But I don't know, something, just take care of each other, be good to each other. You know, I think Mike is touching on something, which is that like it's important to just like not lock yourself away. It's important to you know, view being part of a community and communities as I think a privilege. And you know, not everyone in these communities has the same level of access or privilege or ability. So take care of each other and make each other feel like they can be a part of the communities you want to be a part of. You know, you don't have to be a leader, but be a welcomer.
Gotcha. I hear you. They hear you. And any last things you'd like to add before you guys head out of here?
You know,
Sounds like you gotta go, man. And all I'll say is that like we got to do this again, man. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Right on. Yeah, we will. We shall. We shall. One more time, drop the name for the folks. Connor, if you got to head out, I understand. I'm actually got to do the same thing.
I do not.
Okay.
I think that's somebody coming in. I don't know what. But yeah, no. Thanks so much for having us, and your candor and for being so just easy to talk to. This has been a blast, and I don't know. I just from the first moment felt like we could come in here and just be real, be honest. So it's been cool.
I know, man. Yeah, we'll run it back for sure. You know, I haven't been able to do it yet, but I would love to check in with previous guests and continue this as like a journal entry for everyone that's ever been on. So maybe one day this could serve that as well, you guys. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. I want to thank all the folks out there who tuned in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Thank you for your time as well. Please remember to reach out, reach forward. As always, much love. And we'll catch you guys next time. 34 questions. Peace.